Hey guys, it's Doug218, and I am joined by the lovely
Tara's Films.
And welcome to Coffee and Chat, episode 18, and we've called this one Tornado Talk. And the reason why we're doing this, because just recently Barrie had another tornado touchdown. It was this Thursday, and it was a EF2. And so we thought we'd discuss this and maybe discuss some terminology and talk about how Environment Canada's response. A lot of people felt it was slow.
Right.
So that's why I've asked 4 Towers Films to come in and actually help with this topic, because she's very knowledgeable about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so why don't you give people like a kind of a basic idea of tornadoes and when they hear the terminology on the news, what that all entails.
Well, we could talk about the Barrie one first. I mean, that we could get like more specifics, I guess, about like terminology and things like that. Because I know there's a bit of a misconception in some cases, especially not areas outside of traditional tornado alley, which primarily in the States. So, I mean, they typically get tornadoes regularly. So, I mean, they're pretty much used to the terminology and things like that. So, for our American friends, you know, if you live there, you already know what this all is. But for others who are less prone to get tornadoes, they may not be as aware of what the actual terminology is and what it really means and all that sort of thing. So, because it's just not as common. But with Barrie, now Barrie is a town north of us.
Yes.
You might have seen it on the news. I know it's international. A lot of places saw this. It was a pretty bad storm. It passed through. Like, we got a bit of storms here.
Mm-hmm.
Barrie's about a little over an hour or so north of us, so we weren't near it. We know people who were, and they're okay.
Yes.
Luckily, nobody was killed in the storm. There was about 10 people who went to hospital, and there's about 71 homes that are completely unlivable just because there's like a lot of damage to them. So it actually developed very quickly, this storm. Like, they knew ahead of time. Like, I heard about it a day or so before that they believed there could be. Because we've had a heat wave here. I mean, if you're on the eastern seaboard, it's the same heat wave you're getting. So we had high heat and stuff. There was cold front coming through. So they kind of started talking about this about a day or so ahead, that there was a potential for storms. And actually, some of the fairly famous storm chasers like Reed Timmer and stuff were also actually already talking about it days ahead of the event, that there could be tornadoes in our area even.
Okay.
Now, I know a lot of people don't think Canada gets tornadoes, but we do. I think more people think of it as a prairies thing, because Saskatchewan, Manitoba tend to have most of our tornadoes in Canada. But however, Ontario is actually part of our own tornado alley. And we've last year alone, no, it's not where Narrow States gets, but it's we had about 41 tornadoes last year. And then even this past event, we had 5 tornadoes. So, and Barrie's just one of the strongest when it did the most damage. So. And then I believe Quebec had 2 from the same system. So as a total of 7 just from that storm. I'm not sure if the States had any tornadoes associated with the state, because basically the system went right down to the States. So, but I haven't heard of any reports in the States, but I'm not sure about that. Anyway, so the system actually developed fairly quickly. They did know about it ahead of time. So, it was around, the storms actually developed, I think it was about 1 to 2 p.m. Like, they developed very quickly. It's like what they consider an explosive event. So you're getting very hot air and humid and all that. You've got a pretty sharp cold front coming in, and they're just clashing. Okay. And so it just gets explosive development. Hurricanes do something similar. You probably heard of it during hurricane season. They call it rapid intensification. It's basically similar to what this kind of happened, only over land. It's very quick development. It wasn't like hours and hours and hours that these storms developed. So this is kind of why maybe Barrie McKenna may not deserve a bit of the backlash they're getting. They're getting a bit of backlash that the warnings didn't go out fast enough for the tornado. It was within minutes of it. And I mean, you guys in the States who are living tornado alley, you know, it can be very quick. That a rotation can actually occur in a storm. So it was about, the Barrie tornado hit about 2:30 p.m. So there was actually it's not a streamer, but he's a YouTuber that we've watched who lives in that area. He happened to be in Barrie at that time, so we actually could see what the conditions were like. And it was cloudy, but it wasn't anywhere near a supercell type storm. Now it was building and approaching Barrie at the time. Now they had severe thunderstorm watches and severe thunderstorm warnings throughout the day and throughout the morning, but it hadn't developed rotation yet until almost before it actually formed tornadoes. So I mean, it's very quick that it really happened. So yes, they kind of had an idea that it could happen ahead of time. I know storm chasers have said the conditions were right for it. Now, I mean, those are American storm chasers. Now, not everybody follows them. So, you know, but it happened very quick.
Okay, so let me pose a question.
Within minutes.
How common is like one of these rapid events to like go from 0 to holy heck?
They're actually becoming a little more common. Now, things like in the States, they're very famous tornadoes, like what happened in Moore, Tuscaloosa. There were EF4s, and then of course, very famous El Reno tornado, which was to this day, it's the world's biggest tornado ever on record. It's a 2.6 mile wide tornado.
Okay.
And it initially was rated an EF5. It was downrated to I think an EF3 or an EF4, simply because it just didn't destroy as much as because it was out in the middle of nowhere, really. But these are kind of almost examples of rapid intensification in the storm, which became supercell storms. Now, not all severe thunderstorms become supercell storms.
No.
Not all supercell storms produce tornadoes. So it wasn't really that common. Like, even a few years ago, even 10, 20 years ago, it would happen, but it would be a little bit more gradual that you get that kind of a powerful storm. Now, granted, of course, through Tornado Alley, the conditions usually are right every year to get the most in springtime. Now it tends to taper off a little bit, it shifts a little bit, the Tornado Alley. But now, because we're seeing warmer and warmer temperatures every year is breaking records. So, and of course, that's going to fuel your chance of getting really powerful storms. So, which of course is going to fuel rapid intensification. So you're also noticing with hurricanes, the last few years, you're getting some of the strongest hurricanes that have ever been recorded. You know, so I mean, it used to be like a once in a lifetime thing. You'd see a Category 5 hurricane, Category 4 hurricane. But now you're seeing them almost every year. So, and that's directly due to how warm the water temperature is and how warm and strong, how warm your air temperature is and how strong your low pressure systems are. So, and you're seeing that a lot more now. So you're getting a lot more. You probably have experienced, I mean, there's unprecedented heat waves like out west, Seattle, BC, they've been getting record temperatures. Out west. Here we do tend to get some humidity. We're kind of used to it here, but other places are not. They don't tend to get that kind of humidity.
Our western provinces, no.
But you are seeing it. Like now you're getting like Saskatchewan here, Alberta, BC are getting like record, like in the almost 50 degree, which Celsius or 100 over 100 degrees Fahrenheit out west, like kind of like what Arizona, Nevada typically get in summer. They're seeing that like BC, and they normally don't do that when you're on the Pacific coast. Because the ocean tends to kind of cool it down a little bit, but you're seeing it a little bit more recent, like more recent years, that you're getting these rapid intensification storms.
Okay.
Now, some people are going to say, of course, it's due to climate change because the the world is warming. There is scientific proof of it. Whether the debate till the cows come home, whether it's partially man-made or it's a combination of both, or it's a natural occurring thing. It is naturally occurring and all that sort of thing. But it is warming, and so of course it's directly affecting it. So, and of course the droughts out west. There's a lot of factors that go into it. California's in a record drought. They're getting a lot of drought actually out in BC and all that kind of stuff. So the it's picking up that dryness. And then when you come over a more wet air mass here and it's a bit cooler, it's going to clash. And because the heat fuels it, it's like fuel for the storm. So it's occurring a little bit more frequently than it used to.
Okay, so basically it's the right elements are in place for these monsters to kind of just build and rock and roll kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, for a lot of people that may not know, can you explain what the scale system is when they rated it? Like they rated Barrie at EF2.
Right.
For everybody at home and out online, can you explain what an EF2 is, what that measures?
Well, the EF scale, it's called the Enhanced Fujita scale, and it's the new version of the original Fujita scale, which is the F scale, basically, which is what a lot of people are a little more familiar with because it's been around a lot longer. It was actually named after, I believe it was Dr. Fujita, and it's kind of modeled after the CAT, the Saffir-Simpson scale, which rates hurricanes. So it's kind of a similar rating system. It's on basically the strength of the tornado. Where it differs is the original Fujita scale only took into account what a tornado destroyed to decide how big or how strong the scale was. So you go from F0, which is pretty much it's strong wind. It can damage roof, shingles, things like that, blow some trees, that kind of thing.
But you're not going to lose your house.
You probably, unlikely you're going to lose your house. You probably could pass through your house. It'll do some damage, but it'll still stand.
Okay.
And then it goes all the way to F5, or now EF5, the Enhanced Fujita scale, to EF5, which is, it's basically catastrophic damage. It basically, an EF5 is what they consider unsurvivable on land. So basically, you have to be below ground in order to survive it. And we're talking about even those areas where they have above ground, which seem to be like a new thing. There's like above ground tornado shelters, which can actually survive up to about an EF4, potentially a strong EF4, but an EF5 pretty much can wipe them out. Like it's that strong of a tornado. I mean, that's why I kind of disagree with the downgrading of the El Reno, because there's a massive tornado. You're talking well over 300 mile an hour winds in the center of it, and all that kind of stuff. So it was more based on what it destroyed than really its actual power. The EF scale does take that into account now. That's why it's enhanced. So it does take into account wind speed, as well as destruction, as well as barometric pressure.
Okay.
So the lower the barometric pressure, the stronger your storm is going to be, just like with a hurricane. Really, if you could almost think of a tornado almost like a land hurricane, because they have similar kind of structure. They rotate.
That's
the
a unique
faster
analogy.
They rotate, the stronger they are. Typically with a smaller eye. Tornadoes do not have a bit of an eye. If you go actually look up, you can see cloud. You can see right through, like with a hurricane. It does kind of have an eye to it. So the tighter the rotation, the stronger the hurricane or a tornado is. And it doesn't matter how big it is. And the funny part is it doesn't matter actually how wide a tornado is. It's really more about wind speed and damage. So you can have a huge tornado and it's really an EF2. It doesn't seem like it should be. But if it doesn't damage that much and the wind speeds aren't as strong,
It's rated low.
It's rated down. Like actually the Barrie tornado is actually, and how much it destroys, it's really heavily skewed to that. So when they're talking about EF1, EF2, whatever, they're talking about the kind of damage it's done, really than anything else. But I can kind of tell wind speed a little bit too by the kind of debris and how it lands or how it
it's
things.
Like it's blast pattern kind of thing.
Because if you've got wood going through metal, you're talking very high wind speeds. So they have an idea of what the wind speeds were like. So
now the question is like, why did Environment Canada react so slowly? Like this is what a lot of people are saying.
A lot of people are saying, yeah.
What was the hesitation, or was there hesitation in them putting out the
warnings?
The warnings.
Well, I think they had severe thunderstorm warnings.
Yes, that's true.
They had them through a lot of actually the morning and the early part of the afternoon. They did have a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings through around noon time or so.
That's true.
These storms were starting to develop, or at least they had them actually watches first, which we'll talk about too, the differences between them, a watch and a warning. Because a lot of people get that confused. But there was watches actually through a lot of part of the morning through pretty much the whole part of southern Ontario.
Yeah.
That could potentially see these storms. So they had that, and they talked about. And they always say this. They say there's the potential for tornadoes. Now, not all storms, like they've said, will put that in their watch or warning, but they did this time.
Okay.
Now, I watch other. There's another. I don't just rely mostly on Environment Canada and Weather Network here, which is kind of like the Weather Channel in the States. But there's another one. If you guys are in Canada, you want to check it out. It's called Instant Weather. They're very accurate with a lot of their stuff, NAV and NAV too. So I have been watching them and watching radar. So they had these watches. And so I guess it would be maybe about one-ish. They turned it to a warning, thunderstorm warning, but at the time there didn't seem to be any rotation in the storm.
That's right.
Will trigger at least a tornado watch, if not a warning. So there didn't seem to be any rotation. Yes, the cells were getting a bit strong there, but again, they didn't really intensify really until almost when the tornado actually appeared. So they were getting stronger, but not ridiculously so just yet. So it wasn't really until I would say, from what I saw, maybe 2 o'clock that they noticed rotation. Now, Environment Canada, I don't think have issued a tornado warning yet, but there was rotation detected in the clouds. So now this really should have maybe triggered a tornado watch. Now, we're not in that area, so a lot of the watches and warnings are very specific. They did have tornado watches, I know that, from Environment Canada in specific areas at the time. So, and that's mostly when they detect rotation on radar. And so it takes an actual storm spotter to see the tornado itself to get a definitive, yes, there's a tornado.
Oh, wow.
Or reports coming in, all that kind of stuff. It's a little different than in Canada than it is in the States. But I don't know if they got that. I know there are spotters all around and that sort of thing. They're trained and stuff, and they will call it in. Okay. Now, if you watch the radar, it actually happened very quickly in minutes before there was an actual tornado on the ground. You start to see a classic hook echo on the radars, which is usually indicative of a tornado. I mean, it's strong rotation. It's a hook echo. It's probably a tornado on the ground. It's very unlikely it's not. So, and then it was like minutes after that, the tornado actually hit. So, I mean, it's very actually short period of time that the radar was showing this strong kind of hook echo, which would indicate an actual tornado on the ground, not just rotation or potential funnel, because not all storms who have rotation is going to create a funnel. Okay. at all, like really, because it could be minor even.
Okay.
But this was so strong, and it happened very quickly. So they got it out as soon as they noticed this hook echo. But see how that translates. These were fairly fast-moving storms too. So they were going, I think it might have been like 35 or 45 kilometers an hour. So I mean, they were actually moving fairly quickly for storms. Like it was actually very quick. And a lot of the people who got hit said that. Like they said it was so fast. It was like over their head, and then it was like bam, it was gone in an instant. It was moving very quickly.
Yes.
And so, and it was actually a fairly long glide path. I think it was about 2 kilometers on the ground, but it was kind of hopping, like some of them will do. It wasn't, I don't think it was completely on the ground. You can actually tell by the damage, it was kind of hopping a little bit. And then it was 600 meters wide. So it was actually fairly big tornado, really, for an EF2. And so, but it was very quickly from when it became a hook echo on radar, they did initiate the tornado warning. And so it was within minutes that it hit. So it was very quick. So the warning systems here are a little bit maybe behind what the States has, like for Tornado Alley, because they're so common there.
Okay.
And like we don't have tornado warning sirens like the States has either.
No, that's true.
Which would actually be very helpful because we are seeing them a little bit more frequently here than we used to. So, I mean, it would actually be more helpful if they did. It would get the warning out faster than even a text would.
Okay. Let's clear up for the audience. What's the difference between watches and warnings?
Okay. I know a lot of people mix this up, and I've seen this question actually quite a bit of people saying, oh, like a watch or a warning.
Okay.
And mixing it up. So a watch is issued when the conditions are right.
Okay.
For a tornado, or even a storm to a severe storm to occur. So basically, you've got the elements in place.
Okay.
So you might have like hot, humid air. You have, you know, like a cold front coming through. Like all the elements are in place.
Okay.
To create either a severe storm and or a tornado. So usually you can get a watch on a thunderstorm without, say, a tornado warning, you know. But so what they're doing is they want you to be aware that the conditions are right, that a tornado could form.
Okay.
So like watch the sky, keep an eye on the weather reports, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't mean a tornado is imminent, and it doesn't mean it's actually going to occur. It's just the possibility exists that it could be a tornado. Tornado warning is they've detected rotation on the radar, they've had a hook echo, somebody's actually spotted a funnel or spotted a tornado actually on the ground, and so that's when you get a warning, tornado warning. One's actually imminent or actually occurring right then and there. So they're warning you, get underground right now.
Okay. I guess the same could be said for like storms or whatever.
It's
watches
same,
and warnings.
It's the same idea. So I mean, like if you get a severe thunderstorm, watch. It doesn't mean one's actually even formed. It's just that the conditions are right for one to form.
Happen, yeah.
And just be aware. Like pay attention to your phone if you have an app, or pay attention to the radar or radio or TV or whatever, or even the sky, that kind of thing. A warning is it's imminent. It's bearing down on you, and so get to shelter, basically.
Okay.
That's the basic difference between the two. And a lot of people actually mix it up.
Well, that's why I thought, you know, we'll put that out there to the folks. And for those that are unsure, now we've clarified what a watch and a warning is.
Yeah.
Now, what would be one thing that, say, someone who finds himself in a situation like some of the poor folks in Barrie had, what would be something like a safety protocol that they should do Like,
you mean if you have a tornado warning?
like some of them did. All of a sudden, they were sitting in their living room. They heard the wind just pounding past them.
Right.
What should they do?
I mean, it was so fast that people couldn't even get to the basement. So, it was really that quick. Well, okay, it really depends on where you are.
Okay.
In a tornado, the best thing to do is get underground. So if at all possible, if you're in a house and you have a basement, get to your basement. Try not to be in the center of the basement. If you've got a like a bathroom, downstairs bathroom, under the stairs, something heavy, something furniture, or in a corner, then do that, because it can still collapse in on you, and so you want to try to be in as small area as possible.
Okay.
Bathroom is actually one of your best places to be, because it's small and enclosed kind of thing, or a closet. Basement's your best bet. We don't tend to have tornado shelters here in Canada just because we don't have that many. Maybe some out in Saskatchewan or whatever do, but I don't think it's that big of a thing here.
No.
Obviously, if you're in the States, if you have a tornado shelter, go to your tornado shelter or a basement.
Okay.
Now, if you do not have a basement, there are some areas here that do not have basements in their houses. Well, now go to the center part of your house. So put as many walls between you and the outside as possible.
Okay.
If you've got an interior bathroom, that is your best bet. And that's because your pipes go at least 30 to 40 feet down, but dug in to the ground. So, and actually a lot of cases with homes that we completely destroyed, the bathroom and the tub is about the last thing standing. So
that is true.
And there's a reason for that, because it's so dug down and kind of thing. And because your walls are built to basically protect against leakage from your pipes and all that sort of thing, they tend to be a little thicker there in your bathroom than anywhere else in your house. So that's your best bet. If you do not have a basement, is a bathroom, preferably toward the center part of the house. Try not, if it's on an outside wall, it's not the best bet, but if you have no other choice, get in the tub.
Okay.
And try to put something over you. If not, then a closet is better. If you've got like a closet or a very small room in the center of your house, it's your best bet.
Okay.
Now, if you're in an apartment building, now you see this question a lot. If you have an apartment building, obviously you don't have a basement. Some apartments do have basements. So go there to your laundry room, basement of your building, anything like that kind of thing. If you do not have a basement, but you have, like, say, a stairwell, or preferably if it's more of the center, if it's on the side, it's at least it's an extra layer of heaviness kind of thing. Stairwells, because they're heavy, they're built to hold weight.
Okay.
And they are driven more into the ground kind of thing. So try to go on your main floor, either in the hallway, but there's no windows.
Okay.
And kind of with your back up against kind of the wall, and like cover your head, if at all possible. Or if there's like stairwell toward the middle of your building, go there under the stairs, bottom, lowest level.
Okay.
Do not try to outrun it. Stay in your building. If you know somebody on the first floor, go to their apartment. If you are outside,
okay,
and you're caught in your car, if at all possible, do not try to outrun a tornado. They move exceedingly fast.
That's true.
And they don't have to stop at stop signs. So if you've got enough of a lead on it,
okay,
like, so you see it and it's not right up your butt kind of thing. If at all possible, do not keep going while it's behind you. It will catch you. It moves faster than you can, and it will catch you eventually. If at all possible, move away from it parallel. Like, so don't keep going straight, turn away from it.
So if you had an access road or a side road.
Turn off away from it. Because yes, they can shift, but a lot of the times they tend to stick to a fairly straight way, so that chances are it's not going to come after you in a way. So it's best to kind of go and turn away from it. If you cannot do that and it's pretty much bearing down on you, if you can, look for a ditch. There's a lot of highways have ditches, things like that. Try to not go into a drainage ditch because they're prone to flooding. If you don't have a lot of rain, then a drainage ditch or like a gully or culvert. Do not go under an underpass. I know people have seen these videos people have taken, and they still do it. Shelter under an underpass. Do not do that. It's exceedingly dangerous because basically the wind speeds, it's a tunnel. And the wind is being pushed through this tunnel, and it actually speeds up.
Oh my God!
So it actually can, and this has happened. People have been sucked out of these tunnels and have been killed because they took refuge under an underpass or an overpass.
Could it be that they've seen this in movies?
Yes, like there was a famous news footage. It was actually a news crew. I think it was maybe the 90s, and there's a news crew, and they were actually chased by a tornado. They were covering it, I think, and there was another one coming, and they couldn't outrun it. There was nowhere for them to go.
Okay.
So they kept going. There was an overpass that they came to, and there's a couple other cars parked there. They got out and ran up, and now there's like the girders. Now, not all overpasses have this, but there's like a girder which is kind of cut into the side of the hill, and they told them to get up the girder. And so it was like a family that was with them. So they went up onto the girder. And so the tornado came. You could see the wind pushing as it passed. Now, they were actually lucky. The tornado actually sideswiped them. Sideswiped them. So it actually didn't get that close. It looked close, but it didn't get that close. It was far enough away, but you could still see the power of the wind, even though it wasn't directly over them. So now imagine that tornado coming directly over you. And they have the power to suck you out.
Wow.
And so because wind picks up speed in a tunnel, it's very dangerous to be in an underpass or an overpass. So if at all possible, if you can't find a ditch, if you can find a big building somewhere, like even a Walmart or something, as long as it's a sturdy building, it's big, preferably concrete, steel, that kind of thing. That's your best bet to go in if you can find it. If you can't, and there's no ditch your car, get out of the car, lay as flat as you can in the lowest part of the road, or not the road, but like the side of the road that you can get to. And that's about your best bet.
No, there are some safety tips that you guys should know. Thank you for sharing those.
You're welcome.
Is there any other information that you could pass on, to kind of we've all seen the natural disaster movies and the the big catastrophic events, and somehow people do survive some of these catastrophic events. Of course, yeah. But
people have survived Cat 5 and NAF5s.
What are some things that
depends on what catastrophic event you're talking about?
Well,
like what movie per se?
There are a few.
There's a few.
There's the one that has it's like the recreation of the TIV.
Oh, Into the Storm.
Into the Storm.
Into the Storm, yeah. If you ever saw the movie Into the Storm, the movie, is a tornado chasing vehicle. They call it the Titan, I believe. Well, it's based off a real storm chasing vehicle called the TIV, Tornado Intercept Vehicle. And it was for the same reason that they talk about in the movie. It was for
documentary film.
The documentary film, which actually has since been sold. It's not owned by Sean Casey. He is the one who actually built it in real life, and he actually sold it. And so it's actually Storm Chasers own it now. So and you can actually watch them stream live. They do stream from the real TIV.
This thing is built like a Sherman.
Oh, you bet. It's you want to be. It can actually, I believe, withstand. I think a low EF4. I think.
Okay.
I'd have to double check that, but I mean, it basically literally can ground itself. So it's quite the vehicle.
could the possibility of like into the storm, like these massive tornadoes drop and then become this mega super tornado?
Yeah, the one at the end.
Yes.
Well, that's kind of what happened with El Reno.
Okay.
That's kind of what happened with it. It was actually what they talked about with the end of the storm. There's two big, massive tornadoes, and they merged into one. That does actually happen. You'll get tornadoes with what they call multiple vortices.
Okay.
So, which means there's multiple tornadoes in the one, basically, the little vortexes. And it's interesting because some of them you'll actually see it, the multiple ones within the big gigantic rotation. So really that's kind of in a way what happened with El Reno. It started out actually like a small, and then it just ballooned out. And so there was multiple vortices, and there's actually some, if you actually look it up on YouTube, there's some very good footage of some of the storm chasers and what they caught before it really became this massive tornado of the multiple vortices within it. So you can see like here and here and here, and they were kind of separate at first. They weren't the one gigantic rotation. They were separate. They were like here, and then they would bounce up and down and bounce up. And well, basically, when you got the one solid one, and it became like a stovepipe tool wedge at first, and then there was like another one, and it kind of got sucked into the main storm. Hurricanes could do it too. They'll suck in other storms with them. It's fueling themselves. So basically, it's sucking in these other vortices into the main one, and it just balloons out. So it kind of did happen with El Reno. I mean, that was a massive one in into the storm. I don't think there was that big, but well, I mean, El Reno was massive. It was about 2.6, I believe, miles wide. So could you survived what they did and the storm drain? Because remember, they went into the well, that was probably their best bet because there was really nowhere else for them to go. They were blocked. Remember what the electrical wires came down? They couldn't go back to school. School would be leveled. And for some reason, I don't really understand this, and I know a lot of storm chasers don't either. Why schools do not have storm shelters, like underground storm shelters in Tornado Alley that gets a lot of tornadoes. I just don't really get that. They're above ground. Now, granted, I know some of them are built to withstand, at least an EF4, EF5, pretty much obliterates everything. So, I mean, it doesn't make sense for that. So, their best bet probably was that storm drain. Because laying down on the ground, it's based on certain death. So, there's really nowhere for them to run. It's too big of a tornado. So, their biggest threat there, because there's a lot of rain that have been flooding, there probably would have been a lot of suction. Like you notice it ripped the storm drain up, and then the one there probably would have been a lot of wind because as you see, it does tend to build up like a lot of wind in that. But really, it probably was her best bet at that point. That's really the only time you want to take cover in some place like that, when there's really no other choice to do so. When you've got like an EF5 or there's like something that's you're not going to be able to stand by laying in a ditch. It's just too powerful. That's probably your best bet. Is doing that what they did. So.
What are 5 things that, say, a common person like myself should know or have prepared if I should ever find myself in a situation that I'm in trouble? It's coming. I may or may not have to hunker down somewhere.
I guess it really depends on where you are. I mean, people will have what they consider like go bags or bug out bags kind of thing. It's not recommended to try to outrun a tornado. It's best to stay at home unless you're in a trailer. I mean, the exceptions are that you're not in a sturdy building. So if you live in a trailer, like a tiny home, a van life, anything like that, yes, definitely abandon it. Go somewhere where it is there. You're in a like a
Yes.
solid building. So, if at all possible, if you have to go to a coffee shop or go to a Walmart or go
Okay.
somewhere where it's a concrete steel building, that sort of thing. If you have a friend or a neighbor who has a house, has a basement or something, go there. Don't stay in your trailer. Because they just can't withstand. I mean, most trailers will get blown apart even by 1 to 2.
That's
So,
true.
I mean, they just can't withstand it. So, have an emergency plan in place.
Okay.
Really. So, I mean, if you say, like I said, you live in an apartment, you're not comfortable there, no, where would you go instead? I mean, you're probably safer in an apartment than you would be in a trailer. So, if you're in a trailer, like I know some of the parks in the state, a lot of the parks in the states have tornado shelters. Some of them have been closed. I don't know why, but they have been. Mostly budget cuts. Here, that's not the case. So if you have that, you're also going to have to think what's safe for you to do.
Yeah.
If you have a friend who has a house or an apartment building that hopefully has a basement, go there as soon as possible, even if there's even a hint. I mean, don't wait till the last second to go. If it's like what happened in Barrie and it was quick like that,
Okay.
it's not, like this, it's not advisable to leave normally, but in a trailer, it's an exception. Leave, go somewhere better, even if it's bearing down on you, basically. If you can, try to go opposite to where the saying is coming from.
Okay, like you were saying previous.
Right. Be prepared for power outages, so have like prepared foods, canned foods, anything you can cook without power.
Okay.
Because it'll probably be down for a while, depending on how big the storm is and how much damage. So, maybe have like MREs or canned foods or things that don't need to be refrigerated. Have like bottled water. Always have them on hand if at all possible.
Okay.
Because these things can happen anytime. So.
And something like an auxiliary power source.
If you can, I mean, like, yes, if you're in a house, you might be able to have a generator. Just don't use it inside. Use it outside. Or like a Jackery kind of thing, which you can have solar powered, that sort of thing. Just so you have a little bit of power, you might be able to cook or something like that.
Okay.
So have that just in case. Because that's good even in like an ice storm or even so. Because things happen, not even just tornadoes. So actually have cash on hand. So it's actually a good idea to have cash. I mean, I know we're more of a people's kind of society now, and it's tap or credit card or whatever nowadays. But in a tornado, well, if it's bad enough, there's not going to be any power. So you still need to buy things. So have cash on hand.
Okay.
Just in case. Always.
All right. Let me ask, is there any other things that you would want to impart on to the folks tonight about tornadoes or any sort of tornado information that you think maybe people might want to know?
I guess, I know a lot of people want to watch them or film them. You see videos all the time on YouTube. And actually, one of the videos that we saw on YouTube was a construction worker. I guess they heard it coming. So, it's pretty familiar kind of sound. Like a lot of people say it sounds like a freight train, and it's very loud. And they move pretty quickly. So people like wondering what it is. I mean, especially here, because we don't get them as frequently as people who do. You're pretty much familiar with them. So
that's true.
It's a curiosity. So, and people don't, when you don't see it that much and you don't get it that much, it's like, oh man, I want to film this kind of thing. It's not something you see every day. And so there's one video, he heard something, he went outside and it was basically right there. And he's like, oh my God, you don't see this every day kind of thing. And he's like filming it. He's like bearing down on him. I think that, and nobody was killed with this tornado, which is lucky. But he could have been. It could have been very easily. But I guess, I mean, I know I like looking at, but I've been through some pretty wicked storms. and to hurricane and tornado. So I mean, I know I get the draw of wanting to look at it and see like that's so cool or whatever. I mean, they're scary too, but try not to do that because they move so fast and they actually can shift. They call it like shifting.
Okay.
They can shift very quickly, which is what happened in Barrie. It actually killed sparingly storm chasers because it was unexpected when it did. So, and they can shift like on a dime. So, I mean, it's actually better, you know, not to look at it. Just go stay in your safe place and actually wait for a bit after you hear it. Because there has actually been instances of what they call, I forget what the actual technical term is, but it's like a baby brother in a way of the tornado. It's fairly rare, but it's a little bit more common. After the initial tornado passes, again, it's like a multiple vortex or vortice storm. So you'll get the main tornado passing,
and
but then you'll get
light?
One that's trailing it. That has happened, and people have thought, okay, it's gone, it's safe, I can come back upstairs, or come out the storm shelter, and bam, the second one hits them.
Oh.
So that has happened, and it depends really on the, I guess, kind of storm it is, whether you're going to get that, but it has happened. So don't take the risk. If you're in a safe place, wait.
Stay there.
Wait, and let the initial storm pass, and wait even a minute or two, a couple minutes. If you don't hear anything, then you should be safe, but don't come out immediately, just in case, because it has happened that there is like a trailing one. I mean, it's weird, and you know, but it has happened. So it's actually safe to stay where you are until, like, give it like a minute, even 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
And then come out.
So guys, basically, just because you see it in the videos or in movies
doesn't mean it's true. like let's face it, like the Twister. If you saw Twister, you know, and they're running through the cornfield, they would have been dead. There's no way they would have outrun that thing. He was moving too fast. And I mean, you look, they call them RFD, which is your outer winds on a tornado. They extend out quite a bit from a tornado. So you've got your main tornadic winds, and then you've got your RFD winds.
Okay.
So, which is basically, it's like with actually a hurricane, it's like your outer band wind. So basically, tornado is the same idea.
Okay.
So if you see that, they actually did that right, because you can see like the corn and all that being blown over. That would be with your RFD wind. So it's not even the main suction of the tornado, it's your RFD, it's your advanced wind. So basically, it would have sucked them in even without touching them. So I mean, like, look, that one part, it picked up the truck. Remember?
And tossed it.
Jonas and his truck, and it tossed it. Well, that's RFD winds. So I mean, it obviously was pretty far out. There's no way they would outrun this thing. So that was a bit. Don't do that. Don't believe everything seen in movies. That would have worked.
I'd like to thank you for coming in and discussing this.
I think it's important because I know our tornado season is really starting to ramp up here in Canada.
Okay.
In the States, the tornado alley, I mean, they get it all summer, but it's kind of ramping down, but it's kind of shifting now. So you guys are still in the middle of your tornado season too. So
like I said, thank you so much for coming in and talking about this. It is a topic that has a lot of information, and if you want to find out more, please do your research, look at your weather sites, and what are some other storm sites that people might be interested in.
Like, if you're interested in, there's a lot of chasers who have very good information too. So I mean, if you want actual website, AccuWeather is pretty good for accurate radar and stuff. In Canada, Weather Network is okay. Environment Canada, if you want to look at the radar. One I like, and they were actually fairly accurate, and they were actually faster than Environment Canada in talking about the rotation, is Instant Weather or Ontario Storm Watch. They were actually very good. They were one of the first to actually say there was rotation, even before Environment Canada said anything about it. So they're another one if you're here in Ontario. I think they might have one or two out west too. I'm not sure. You'd have to check that out. But they're very good, and they have an app too, so in the App Store. So you check. You can get it for free. You do get tornado warnings and stuff for free.
Okay.
They do have a paid one, which gives you a little bit more detail, that kind of thing. So, but they do have a free one. And you actually, if they still have the service, they have a text warning system that goes out within minutes, like of any kind of detection of they'll
Okay, that's
alert you with for minor rotation and all that kind
Okay.
of stuff. So that's another one for if you want to be weather alert.
And if you've enjoyed this conversation, please let us know in the comments down below. And if you'd like to have more of a discussion with Four Towers Films about tornadoes, other hurricanes,
Yeah.
other extreme weather, please let us know, and we'll do another episode.
Hurricanes isn't on too, so.
And again, guys, I'd like to thank Four Towers for coming in and discussing this with me. I brought her in because I don't know a lot about it, and she does. And this was a news event that just happened very recently, so we thought we'd kind of clear up any sort of misconceptions or questions people might have had about certain terminologies. If you liked the video,
And
please,
perhaps why it took them so long to issue a warning.
exactly. And if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. It's around here. It's around here somewhere, and it will let you know every time me and my co-host go live on Sunday. And let's keep the conversation going. Thank you again. And guys, have a safe week. We look forward to talking to you soon. And to all the citizens of Barrie, our thoughts are with you. Thank goodness there was no loss of life. Please be safe, and hopefully the rebuild process will go swift. Thank you guys, and have a great night. See you next week.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye.